What's going on, everybody? Thank you for stopping by my channel. You got Sturkules here with my Week 6 NPDL battle. And if you're seeing this, you're probably seeing that this is being uploaded in really close proximity to my Week 5 NPDL battle. I got a little bit behind on my battles, had some personal stuff coming up in life that just took precedence over team building for Pokemon. I know that sounds crazy. This is something I love doing. It's a lot of fun. But the last few weeks have just been hard to get around to doing battles because of things going on. So I'm happy to be able to catch up a little bit on these. This week, week 6, I've got Gold Sound, and the Motostoke Overdrive is the coach. He is an OG NPDL battler. He's been around since Season 1, since the get-go. And not only that, he's a really good battler. He's a really great guy. He's a lot of fun. He's one of those. He's got kind of a self-deprecating sense of humor, like myself. Likes to kind of take hits at himself. So every time I hear those jokes, that I definitely get his sense of humor. And I definitely feel him a lot. You know, we're guys who like taking hits at ourselves and wish we were a little bit better of battlers. But I think he's a great battler. Like I said, I don't think there's a bad battler in our league. And if so, well, I'm right down there with you guys. But no, we got a great league of battlers. I'm excited to play. But one of the coolest things about the Motostoke Overdrive, let's go to their team here, because I'm saying because they're actually a two-headed coaching tandem, which I like that. You got Gold Sound, who's the coach. He runs the squad in game, so you call him the head coach or whatever you want to call him. But he's also joined by Luca. Now Luca's had a few names over the years. I'm trying to remember. He played a few seasons back, and he was very new to battling. He wasn't bad by any means. He was just figuring it out, and he was playing against coaches who had been playing for a few seasons. So I know he felt that was very tough. So he went and took a step back from the league, had other things going on, but he has always been amazing at drafting, and he's always been really good at team building too. So him and Gold kind of doubled down and kind of formed a two-headed tandem. I think he kind of jokingly calls himself the GM while Gold Sound's the coach. But you can see they've built a really scary team. So something's working. I believe that they were a tandem last season too. And same type of thing. They built a really cool team, and they were like this close from making the playoffs. In fact, it was me and my win in the last 2 weeks that kept them out of the playoffs. So they're probably really excited to get some revenge here. I say that, revenge. Actually, last season when we played, Gold Sound and Luca took me down. And if I remember right, it was a close game, but it shouldn't have been, in that they beat me in like a 1-0 or a 2-0, but it was because of like some serious freeze hacks that I didn't just get dominated. So I'm actually also looking for some revenge here. So in different ways. But they got Ferrothorn, which is just always a hassle to bring down. As you can see, 94 attack. It's a decent attacker, and it actually gets some really cool coverage with Grass and Steel. Gets access to fighting and dark moves. Gets access to ground moves. I don't think it gets rock moves, but it does get stealth rocks. It does get spikes. It's a great hazard stacker. It does get things like Leech Seed and Protect, which give it some longevity. It's great paired with Leftovers, Rocky Helmet. They're a weakness berry. There's just a lot you can do with it. And it's only weak to fighting and fire. So with a 4 times weakness to fire, really hard to bring down. Iron Barbs is what you usually see. Ran on it to just punish you a little bit more for hitting it, making contact. And that makes it hard for a pivoting guy, like kind of what I've got on my team. But I can also run Anticipation. But you've got Indeedee Mail, which sets up Psychic Terrain, which is just really cool. It's a great Scarf user. It's a great Life Orb or Specs user. And it does get really good coverage. With its Psychic and normal stabs, that hits really hard. But especially with Expanding Force, my goodness, that is just terrifying. But it also gets Dazzling Gleam to make Dark types think twice about switching in. And it gets Mystical Fire to help out with Steel types and lower special attack. Goodra, a special wall if you've ever seen one, 150 base special defense. You throw an Assault Vest on that, and you don't even need to put any investment into special defense with an Assault Vest because it's so bulky. You can go speed and attack. You can go special attack and HP. You can go straight defense. and I believe it gets like acid armor and body press, but gets really good coverage being a dragon. Usually they get fire moves. Usually they get like some water or electric moves, which it gets both of those. Gets good dragon moves, obviously, with Draco and Outrage. It gets things like Sludge Bomb and Sludge Wave to hit fairy types, so really good all around. And if you run it bulkier, it can run Toxic, it can run Dragon Tail to phase you out. Three really good abilities. Now, you're not going to see Hydration really ran unless he's playing a rain team, which I don't think we have a rain team in the league this year, which I think is the first time probably since the league has started, I would guess, because some seasons we've even had two. But Sap Sipper gives it immunity to grass and ups its attack. Gooey makes you slower on hitting it. You got Incineroar with Blaze and Intimidate. You're going to see it running Intimidate a lot. Really good pivoter with Parting Shot and U-Turn. Good coverage. Fire and Dark can hit a lot, but it also gets things like fighting coverage. It gets Thunder Punch, so it's pretty scary with Intimidate. It can be a little bit hard to hit. It is a good Assault Vest user. It's a good Choice user with Choice Scarf or Choice Band, and it likes to run heavy-duty boots because it does love to pivot around, and Stealth Rocks do hurt it. And it does get Taunt, so that's cool. Corsola Galar was one of the things I was least looking forward to seeing, so I was just really hoping it doesn't come. With Eviolite, since Corsola Galar evolves into Cursula, it can hold the Eviolite and becomes just stupid bulky and really hard to take down because it gets Strength Sap to recover itself. It gets things like Will-O-Wisp to, if you want to try to set up with like a Swords Dance Terrakion, let's say. Makes it really hard to do that. It does get Nightshade to break subs. I'm trying to think of what else I was... Oh, and then it can set up Stealth Rocks. So, Curse Armor, or Weak Armor or Cursed Body, you expect it to run Cursed Body, and Cursed Body is just scary. You hit it, and your move that you really need gets to where you can't use it, and that can just get really scary. And then he's really like, this is one of those things where there's not a mon on his team that I just look at and say, well, that's not coming. If anything, I didn't really expect to see Mr. Mime Galar, but it's a good 40 tier mon. Skuntank is a great 40 tier mon. It hits pretty hard. It gets Sucker Punch. It gets Defog for some reason. Don't know why, but that's great for hazard removal, and it does get Toxic Spikes, so I don't really expect to see it, but at the same time, it can be pretty annoying to kill with only one weakness, being ground, and it does have a really high HP stat to make up for its less than great defenses. But Clawitzer is cool with Terrain Pulse on a terrain team, so it's got Mega Launcher, so things like Water Pulse, Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, and Terrain Pulse all just get hugely boosted in power because of Mega Launcher, so it can hit hard, it can pivot with U-Turn. Good choice or Assault Vest user. I don't really think it's coming, but you kind of got to you got to be ready for it just in case, especially when two of my best offensive mons are Terrakion and Cinderace, and also, honestly, something like Aura Sphere hitting Hydreigon, so you got to be ready for it, even though I'm not full-on expecting it. But Whimsicott and Hitmonlee are both really scary, and I'm about 100% sure they're both coming. Whimsicott, I was expecting a Prankster set with something like either Taunt or Encore. I figured it probably wouldn't run both. I knew it would run Moonblast to be able to hit Hydreigon, and then from there, I think Defog was really nice on it because he doesn't have a whole lot of hazard removal. I think it's just Defog, Whimsicott, and Rapid Spin Hitmonlee. So with Whimsicott, I expected Defog, I expected Moonblast, Taunt or Encore, and then I could have seen it either running Leech Seed or Stun Spore. I think Stun Spore is actually really good against my team since I do have some speedy threats. But he may not have been worried about speed control because Hitmonlee with Unburden and Psychic Terrain is pretty cool. So if it's running a Psychic Seed, it Unburden activates upon hitting. Other ways you can activate Unburden. You can do something like Close Combat or Curse with a White Herb. You drop one stat, and it restores them, and then your speed's doubled because of Unburden. I didn't see it being run Reckless this week. And then you can also do something like Normal Gem Fake Out, but I didn't expect that because he's got Psychic Terrain, so that takes away priority moves. But I expected, a fighting move, most likely Close Combat. I expected Knockoff. And then from there it was actually kind of hard because Earthquake was nice against a few members of my team, but Poison Jab is also nice. But if he runs all 4 of those, then he's not able to run Rapid Spin. So that's something that I had to think about. But looking at his team, Ferrothorn and Didi I think are coming. Gudra I think is coming. Hitmonlee and Whimsicott I think are coming. So I think, that's 5. So, and then for the 6th, I figured either Incineroar or Corsola. I was hoping Corsola didn't come. So looking at my team real quick, I've got Dodger Rabbit, the Cinderace. I went Heavy Duty Boots in case he did. Hazard Stack with Ferrothorn. Pyro Ball hits a lot of his team. In fact, really, Incineroar and Gudra are really the only thing that I think is coming to switch in on that. Obviously, Clawitzer does resist, but I think some of these 7 are coming right here. So Pyro Ball just hits his team really hard. I was actually close to running a plus attack to not worry about outspeeding Whimsicott, since I thought Whimsicott would be Prankster, but I figured just in case he does run an offensive Whimsicott, let's outspeed it. So we got Taunt for a lot of his, mostly for Ferrothorn and for Corsola. Was really helpful. And then Sucker Punch, just in case Hitmonlee did some sort of unburden shenanigans with Endure. If he was down to 1 HP and Psychic Terrain wasn't up, Sucker Punch was nice. And then U-Turn. And I was actually thinking Sucker Punch for a potential Choice Scarf and Didi, and now I'm realizing that Psychic Terrain would have almost always been up unless it had been in for a few turns, which is not super likely. So I would have just had to hope with Hitmonlee that Terrain wasn't up. And then U-Turn to pivot around. I love pivoting with Dodger Rabbit. Next we got Blaster Oogway making his debut for the Utah Copperajazz. I used Blastoise in my other league that I played in this past season in the TPA, and he was part of the championship squad. Was an absolute beast, and I love running a defensive Blastoise. Assault Vest was really nice for a Choice Scarf for Specs and Didi. Are you guys seeing a mistake on the screen? Because I'm seeing one, and I played the match with this mistake. I'll tell you what it is here in a sec. But I got Scald just to overall hit his team with Stab and possibly Burn. I actually had a few different moves that I went back and forth on. Like at one point, I think I had Ice Beam and Aura. No, I had Dark Pulse and Aura Sphere. Dark Pulse was for Ndidi, and Aura Sphere was for Ferrothorn. And then I had Dragon Tail because, as you can see with some of my Mons coming up, I have a lot of hazard options. So I wanted to get some hazards up and just start Dragon Tailing things around. But I ended up switching, went for Icy Wind just to slow down some of his threats. But I figured if late game Hitmonlee, if I had full health and I could live something like a close combat, I could Icy Wind if he was unburdened, and then that would put him slower than my next Mon that I'm about to show you. But then Mirror Coat, I decided was much better for Ndidi than Dark Pulse, probably because if Expanding Force was just bopping me, that means Mirror Coat is hitting very hard back. Also for something like Gudra, I had trouble hitting Gudra, especially if it was Assault Vest. Obviously I could Dragon Tail phase it out, but also Mirror Coat was an option if I thought he would like Thunderbolt or something like that. So this was a cool set, but what I messed up, and I'm going to fix it because it's bothering me, though it doesn't matter now because I already played the match. But initially, when I put this set in, it wanted me to be minus speed, but I wanted the speed in case he tried to speed creep with a few Mons. So I forgot to put a minus on my attack here because I wasn't worried about Dragon Tail doing damage. I was just worried about it phasing. And so I had a plus here. So I was supposed to be even bulkier, but since that minus wasn't there, I actually I played the match with a neutral-natured Blastoise, which is having a neutral-natured Mon is always kind of funny when you make a mistake like that. But there we go. We got the Choice Scarfed Hydreigon, Black Mamba, and this is a big reason why I was running Icy Wind. I could slow down Hitmonlee, and then because then Hitmonlee would only be at +1 speed from Unburden, and then a Choice Scarf Hydreigon would outspeed it, and then I could drop a Draco. So Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, U-Turn hits his team nicely. U-Turn, obviously, if I think something's switching in that I don't want to hit, even like an Ndidi coming in. But obviously, I have Dark Pulse for Ndidi. Biggest reason I'm Choice Scarf is because I think his Ndidi is going to be Choice Scarfed. Choice Scarf Ndidi is a huge threat, and even if you're running Choice Scarf with max speed, you're still doing a whole lot of damage because Expanding Force and Psychic Terrain is pretty insane. Draco Meteor just bops a lot of his team. Even a Gudra, if it's whittled down, can hit it decently. And then Flamethrower, obviously, for Ferrothorn. Draco or U-Turn, I click on something like Incineroar. Dark Pulse is nice for Corsola, so this is a pretty good set that I think late game can be nice, and really early game even can hit something pretty hard with. Got also in his first match, we have Trash Ketchum, the Garbodor. This is not a hit at Ash Ketchum. Ash Ketchum is great, even though he does make a lot of mistakes. But anyway, I just did it because I was like, what rhymes with trash? Ash. Okay, there we go. So I wanted to make a pun out of the name. Had Black Sludge and Aftermath. Considered Rocky Helmet, but I liked Black Sludge, just giving it a little longevity because I wanted to Hazard Stack. I wanted to get up 3 layers of spikes and 2 layers of Toxic Spikes. And then I had Gunk Shot. Gunk Shot hits his team outside of Ferrothorn really great. Even without attack investment. I wanted max defense, max HP, because this was my Hitmonlee answer. Now, obviously, if Hitmonlee had Earthquake, then Claydol kind of becomes a Hitmonlee answer. But you have to have multiple things ready for something like Hitmonlee if you want to beat it late game. But this was, this was just to switch in on fighting moves. If you wanted to do Poison Jab, thinking I'd bring Wigglytuff or a Tangela. I resist that. So really, you do pretty good on everything except for an Earthquake, which it could very well bring, and we'll find out. But yeah, I wanted to get spikes up early. I wanted to get at least 1 layer Toxic Spikes and at least 2 layer spikes, if possible, just because that, with rocks, really starts to whittle a team down, and then something like Terrakion or Hydreigon can really start doing some damage. Shakuamon, I am bringing as another defensive option. Scorching Sands to potentially burn things, super effective damage on a few of his squad. Toxic on pretty much everything but Ferrothorn, and that's if I'm unable to get Toxic Spikes up, because I was leaning more towards Spikes going up first than Toxic Spikes. But anyway, yeah, but got Toxic just in case those aren't up or in case they've been spun away. I have that as an option, especially for something like Corsola. Would love to get that Toxic. Stealth Rock and then Rapid Spin. So we want to get up hazards, but we also want to keep his hazards off the field. Levitate at least keeps us taking damage from his spikes that Ferrothorn might set up. And I've got Colbur Berry, even though we're max special defense to have another answer to Indeedee. With Colbur Berry, I'm going to take a hit really nicely from Hitmonlee. And from there, I could either Scorching Sands and hope to burn, or Toxic, if it's not poisoned from Toxic Spikes already. And then lastly, Caldrogo, the Terrakion, with Close Combat, Stone Edge, Sub, Swords Dance, and Mental Herb. Now, the Sub Swords Dance was so that if something like Corsola wanted to start Strength Sapping or Will-O-Wisp, I could just substitute and he wouldn't be able to do that. Something like Hitmonlee comes in and gets an Unburden off. If I have a sub up before that can happen, that helps me to live in close combat, bops it back. Or same thing with just if I can get a sub up with maybe a Choice Scarf and Indeedee coming in, now I can take a hit and hit it back. So Mental Herb is because I'm expecting a, what's the word? You know the word. I'm expecting a Taunt or Encore from Whimsicott. So if I, for example, set up a substitute and Whimsicott comes in, it could just Encore me and make me keep clicking substitute. But if I have Mental Herb, I can click Stone Edge on its Encore or its Taunt. It wouldn't want to Taunt there. It would probably want to Encore if it has it. But also, even if something like, for example, if I set up a sub and then I Swords Dance in front of something, as he switches into Whimsicott, Whimsicott can Encore, and once again, I'm stuck doing Swords Dance. But if I've got my Mental Herb still around, then I can still Stone Edge it. So that was really the main point for running Mental Herb. I felt like if I could get hazards up enough, I'd be fine without needing something like a Life Orb or Expert Belt on this, and it would still be hitting really hard. So just basically outspeed everything on its team other than Whimsicott, and then the rest goes in to HP to take hits a little bit better. So with that being said, we looked at him and Lucas' team. Looked at my team. Let's hop into the battle. That was probably way too long of a team builder. So looking at his team, once again, I apologize. Hopefully, I wasn't able to do a live commentary of the battle like I want to start doing. So I'm doing some post commentary, and hopefully this is not laggy as sometimes showdown replays can be. So looking at his team, he brings pretty much what I'm expecting, and I am so happy to not see Corsola there, basically. So, yeah, but he brings the team I'm expecting, and I think Hydreigon is a pretty good lead for anything other than Whimsicott. right? Because if Ndidi leads off, I'm Scarfed, I'm faster. I don't think he'll lead Hitmonlee. Ferrothorn, I can either Flamethrower or Scare it out, and if I think he's going to switch, I got U-Turn. I guess, and then Incineroar, I'd probably just U-Turn on. So I guess really, I'm thinking early, I'll just either drop a Draco or U-Turn, or click Dark Pulse, and I'm hoping it's not Goodra or Whimsicott as a lead. And he goes with a great lead of Whimsicott, so from the get-go, I'm like, well, I don't want to get Moonblasted, so I know I need to make a switch here. He makes a smart U-turn, knowing that I'm not going to stay in on that. So now I've got Trash catch him in early. Now I don't want to take too much damage, right? Because I do need to help save this for Hitmonlee, but this is a great chance to find out, knowing that Whimsicott has U-turn. I know it's a little bit less likely now that it's got Defog because it starts running into 4 move slot syndrome. So this is a good chance to start hazard stacking. Sorry. So I want to get up hazards early, and I know he might start hazard stacking early too, but I can always rapid spin with Shakuamon at some point. So I think, I don't know if, okay, I go Toxic Spikes first. He body presses, probably expecting me to switch into Cinderace. So I get a Toxic Spike and a Spike. He knocks off my Black Sludge, which is really good for him. And at that point, I'm like, I've taken enough damage, and now I can start whittling his team. So I go ahead and switch into Cinderace, thinking he's probably going to switch here because he doesn't want me to just hazard stack up to 3 Spikes and 2 Toxic Spikes. So yeah, he goes in here to back into P. Diddy, and I'm in Dodger Rabbit. I know I'm faster unless he's Scarfed, so he switches out, and I'm able to get this and a U-turn off. So I don't really learn yet, though, if Whimsicott is Defog or not, because, you know, he would have had Prankster priority Defog if he was Prankster, but at the same time, he was just being smart and not wanting to die to Pyro Ball, right? So, which is why he switched in his Dragon. I go ahead and U-turn thinking he won't stay in. So now I can get into my Assault Vest Blastoise, start seeing what he's going to do. He Sludge Waves. I tried a Dragon Tail just to phase him out, start weakening things on my hazards, and I miss, which I was initially annoyed about, obviously, 90% move. But then I was actually kind of happy that I missed, because he's not doing much damage, and that poison is starting to really rack up. So he drops a Draco, doesn't do a whole lot. I actually Icy Wind, and obviously I know that's not going to do much to a super thick Goodra, even if it is super effective. But I was actually assuming that he would expect another Dragon Tail and go into Whimsicott, which is why I Icy Winded. Figured, hey, let's get a little super effective damage on something that's not thick like a Goodra, but he actually stays in, which I'm okay with. I'm still at 53% health. Now I know I can actually switch into Claydol as well, because Draco's not going to do a lot. It still does a decent chunk. And I just want to get up rocks, because I know he's dying to poison here. So Big Garbodor already picking up a kill, even though it's indirect. So here, I know I don't want to stay in on this, so I switch into Cinderace. He makes a good prediction with Psychic. So with that defense drop, he's actually probably going to kill here. But I know with that damage, there is no way he is Scarfed, which I didn't expect him to be Scarfed. But so I just know I'm faster here is basically what I'm saying. And actually from that damage, I'm actually able to find out that he's Choice Specs. So I don't have to worry about any annoying Prankster things. I can't get Stun Sport here. He can't Defog here. He has Choice Specs into Psychic. So I'm just going to go ahead and pivot because I know he's not going to stay in because I'm faster. And I think U-turn killed anyway for that. So U-turn does a whole lot to Hitmonlee. And now, this is actually a little bit scary because he's deciding to go ahead and just get his Unburden off early here. But Terrakion, unless he's Choice Scarfed, which he could have been Choice Scarfed Reckless to be fair. But if so, I'm happy. I would rather him be that than Unburden. So I'm going to be faster here. And I expect him to switch because at this point, he's obviously not living a close combat. So I'm like, he's absolutely switching out of here. So I substitute so I can start doing that. And he close combats, so he made a very bold play. And now he's unburdened, so he's going to be faster. So I switch into Garbodor. He makes a really good play here, knowing Earthquake can kill. It was funny, I actually had Claydol clicked here because I'm like, he's not going to knock off. Right? I was like, there's no way he knocks off onto Terrakion and gives me a justified boost. So I'm thinking, well, he's either going to close combat or he might have Earthquake. And I had Claydol clicked because I was like, what if he clicked Earthquake? This would be a really cool prediction. But then I kind of chickened out for some reason, thinking, you know what, Garbodor has gotten to. I knew Garbodor had gotten 2 layers of spikes up. Plus, Garbodor has Aftermath, so if he killed me with Aftermath, I could have taken some damage. So I said, let's just sack this off here. It's not needed. Let's keep Claydol at a good amount of health for later. So Poison's really racking up. He goes for a knockoff and actually live. I don't know if that was a roll or not. I actually didn't calc it. I was just ready to die. I clicked spikes just in case I lived, just in case he close combat and predicted. He knockoffed and predicted, and I lived, so I get another layer of spikes up. He's running out of switches, so Cinderace gets to pick up a U-turn kill here, which is really nice. At this point, I'm feeling pretty good, and I think it's kind of just about differential. So he's choice scarfed here, as we're going to see. I'm choice scarfed also, so Dark Pulse picks up the kill. We know he's choice scarfed because of, I think he comments on it. Here, yeah, he said the Scarf Hydra hurt, and so yeah, that kind of shows that he was scarf ready to come in, and probably Dazzling Gleam. So, but I don't want to leave. I don't want to take a body press from this. I don't even want to calc if it kills or not because I know Cinderace can live a body press. Now I can go in and click Pyro Ball, so he can come in on Incineroar. We find out is he scarfed? No, because he doesn't take hazard damage, so we just go ahead and U-turn out. We get a crit, which ends up not being a huge deal. He close combats, which is a cool prediction there. So I just go ahead and double into Claydol. He close combats again, and I would be in knockoff range, but I'm Culver Berry, so I'm faster. I get to Scorching Sands. He knocks off. I get to live. So I did that just to save differential, right? The safer play there is just to let Blastoise go down and let something like Terrakion or Terrakion kill. But I was at 2 and 3 plus 1, fighting for a playoff spot here, and my schedule is, it's tough because we have so many good coaches in the league. So I'm playing for a differential here. I always feel like cheap doing that, but at the same time, it's just that's what you got to do sometimes. So I really needed to get a 5-0 here. I was able to do that. Let me tell you this. I did not go into this game thinking, hey, let's get a really high differential for sure. I went into this game thinking, let's not lose because his team is going to be really hard to kill. Indeedee plus Hitmonlee plus Corsola Galar had me kind of psyched out as a trio. So I was really glad to see Corsola didn't come. But GG's to Gold Sound, always a great game. Luca and Gold really put in some good work with their team as always. The biggest thing is since they didn't have hazard removal, that kind of guaranteed that things like Terrakion and Hydreigon could put in some big work. So it was good to get a big win after this against a really good coach. That puts us up. Let's just go ahead and look at that actually. You can kind of see our updated stats. Cinderace is 9 kills and 3 deaths, so he's definitely performing the best. I'm glad to see that every member has gotten to come, even our new members now. The trade deadline's actually today, and I made 3 of my 4 moves. I dropped Raichu for Rotom Frost, which I think I'm happy with, and then I dropped Slowking and Weezing for Blastoise and Garbodor. So Blastoise and Garbodor both had I just said Garbodor's name different twice. That's annoying to me. But anyway, Blastoise and Garbodor both had strong first games, so I was excited to see how they got used. Played really defensively with them too. But Blastoise with Shell Smash is a thing, so I'm excited at the options we have. And I guess this shows our next opponent of Ball, which is I get to face Terrain again. That's going to be fun. We're not going to go into that. I actually wanted to look at our rankings. Just looking at where we're at in the playoff race. Right now we've got 14 teams, and 8 teams make the playoffs. Next year, maybe we'll have 16 teams, and then half makes the playoffs. Who knows? But right now, I'm at number 7, and I'm happy for that because, like I said, 2 games in a row I'd lost. I'd lost 2 tough games in a row. So being at 3 and 3 plus 6 is a pretty comfortable spot. Just kidding, because I'm playing Ball next week. So if he beats me, he knocks me down some. Then it starts getting really bad. I'm not going to be in a comfortable spot the rest of the season, as you can see right here. Things are just going to get tough. Honestly, things getting murky in like this middle area. Like you still look at Prisley, 1-6 -13. Prisley won a championship 2 seasons ago, and maybe 3 seasons ago, and did he make it again since then? Great battler. Like at 1-6, don't count him out yet. Don't count any of these teams out, and really, Bendelin's differential is far enough that that's probably not going to happen. But even like late into the season last year, Bendelin was in the playoff hunt. So this is what we're looking at. So as you can see, Henrik hasn't lost a game in a really long time. Like he won the championship last year and went undefeated last year. First time that's happened in our league history, to be full on undefeated. Cooper has been undefeated, but he took over a team that had one loss the year he did that. So, but anyway, just looking at this, we're seeing how things are shaking out so far, and right now things are just pretty crazy. But yeah, we're in the playoff hunt. I'm happy for that. At this point, I'm just rambling, so I really need to stop. Thank you for stopping by and checking out the video. Hope you enjoyed. Constructive criticism is always happily taken. Tell me what plays you think that I could have made better. Tell me what I did that was cool. What do you think of the new teammates? But go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and have yourself a great day. I'm going to hop on out of here. Peace.